Welcome everyone to the study session of the County's Board of Education. Today is March 26th, 2024. We're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South, 300 East in Sandy, Utah. And the first item on the agenda is board committees update and discussion on second vice president. So the first thing I want to talk about is committees. So there's gonna be a little shuffling around. Oh, there. Okay. Okay, I'll start. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really affect you.
Okay, great.
Okay, so the strategic planning committees. Holly is going to be added to access and opportunity. And then Chris is going to be added to operating systems. Because I think there's a meeting this week.
Yes, Thursday at noon, so.
Make that, but I mean, obviously, if you can't, it's okay. It won't be the end of the world.
Okay.
And will there be lunch?
We're having dinner. Of course there'll be.
There will be lunch, just so you know.
Oh,
Okay.
that's the foundation thing, so, yeah, what times? Do you know when the
At
meeting?
noon, at 12,
then that won't be
in
a
this
conflict.
room,
Okay.
okay? Okay, and then Chris has graciously agreed to also take Mont's spot on the audit and the RDA CDA.
Funnest committees.
They're the most exciting ones, just people you should be jealous. And
You lived with one, so it should be good.
okay, and then also for USBA, Karen has offered that she will take that position. So is that still good? Is that good with everyone else? Okay, and then Chris is going to take Mom's spot on the Education Foundation. She already went to a meeting. She's amazing, going to take his spot on Salt Lake County Parks and Rec. Oh, unless any of you guys want to fight her. Anyway, that they meet like once a month during lunchtime, and she is going to take that. So, do they not meet in the summer? Maybe they don't. I kind of don't think they do. It's probably too busy.
I should have brought Matt's.
She does have his calendar.
I have his calendar.
She knows. Okay, and then the last thing we need to talk about, and I did not talk to you about this, Chris, is graduation. So,
You covered the EMTs licensing.
yeah, no one's gonna be added to that. And then Holly's taking Mont's spot on access and opportunity. You'll still have plenty to.
I'm not
You'll
worried
still have
about
plenty
having
to do.
enough or too little.
So who leads access and opportunity?
I'll let her know.
Will you guys let her know?
I'll let her know, right?
And then I will have Cindy update this list and give it to all of us.
Quality, who just access.
Access.
Paula does access, and then Leon does operations.
And when we update it, let's have led by McKay, Bob's.
Yes, I don't know why.
Bob.
Well, Anda says Wendy Douse.
And Wendy.
Are they led? They're not led by.
No, because those
No.
people no longer are
One
here.
is Amber Roderick, does high quality learning, and then access and opportunity is Paula.
And then high quality is,
Yeah, Amber
Okay.
Roderick.
It's actually Amber.
Hello.
Yeah, it's Amber. Anyway, okay. So, okay, Chris, Mont had 2 graduation assignments and one was Hillcrest, and it's May 28th, 29th, sorry, at 9:30 at Maverick Center. He was supposed to speak, but the other board member that's gonna be there is Andrew. So I don't know, would you rather have Andrew speak or do you want to speak?
I don't, we can talk about it. I don't.
Okay, why don't you two
Whatever
talk
you
about
want.
it?
I'm happy to speak. If you want to speak, because it's your one opportunity, you can. If you don't really want to speak, I like to talk, so it's up to you.
Who's honest?
But you just get this one shot, so if it's something you want to do, take it. If it's something that you're like, I don't really want to, I'm happy to talk.
We'll do it.
You'll do
9
it,
o'clock
it's
on
your
the
one,
29th.
it's at 9:30, Maverick Center, and they'll send you.
Here's my marketing man.
Very good, Andrew. Okay, and then his second one is May 24th
Okay.
at 3 3:30, he's not speaking now, and it's at well, it's for
it's
Jordan
for-
Valley, but it's at Hillcrest. And Nancy will be with you, and she's speaking. She did win the fight there.
What time?
3:30 in the afternoon. Okay, and then obviously look at your calendar if something comes up.
Hey, Chris, too, if you want to wear robes from Europe,
Yeah, I have here, I need to give it somebody, but there's no way I'm.
you can order,
Cindy will order.
Sure, we'll get them in, so we'll need to talk about that. Remember last year how hard it was?
I bet you can go down to Justin or someone can, anyway. I
Yeah,
bet you
you
can
can-
figure it out.
We'll be able to, I'm sure we'll be able to get one. They got me one very, very quickly. So Tom's got some connections with Jocelyn.
Yeah, we'll talk to Tom.
Is that from?
Yes, we will, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, okay, that's just, okay, and then the last thing, you guys, is, we are not gonna vote on vice president right now, but our board did vote already that we think a vice president is okay, and I will tell you, I really want a vice president. Two vice presidents,
Want another one.
Amanda's gone. It's just really helpful, cause even through this, I mean, it's still been like, now it's been me and Amanda doing everything, right? So it's just helpful to have three, that way if someone's traveling. So I just want to talk about what the time commitment is, so you guys can be thinking about it. We will vote on it on April 9th, okay?
To fill the.
To fill the vacancy, right, cause I feel like we already did vote as a board to have two vice presidents, that was our motion, so. But the time commitment is, we have, board leadership, which is. Right now, we're having it the Thursday morning after board meeting is where we meet to set the agenda. We kind of look at two agendas at once. The meetings between like 45 minutes to 1 hour. And then the other big job, which is way bigger than that meeting, is all the emails. So we, as board leadership, work on all the emails and with communications.
I'm gonna say,
are a big
I know
part
there's
of
a.
it too. We all collaborate on that and it's a big
Response emails.
yeah, responding to emails from. So those are really the main things. So just think about if you want to spend more time together. Anyway, that'd be great. So I guess just think about that and maybe talk to other board members if you want to do that and have someone nominate you if you want to do that for our next meeting. Okay, let's go to the bell. Can you do the bell schedule in 10 minutes, Liam?
No, I can.
And then we're gonna have to move the budget to, you think, yeah?
Yeah, they need a quick confession, over Valentine's Day, I accidentally bought my wife a glue stick instead of chapstick. She still wasn't talking to me.
One of your better ones.
I really love
Yeah,
that.
Family always emails me dumb jokes. I can't help myself, sorry. I love them.
Every year we have you guys approve the start and end times of the school day. We call it the bell schedule, okay, first bell to last bell. So we'll just refer to it that way, under USB rule, the board has to approve this every year, so. With the elementary prep time that we approved, that you approved a few meetings back. We said that we'd have to add 10 minutes on. Or 10 minutes of extra prep for each for the teachers during that time. The only way we can do that really with transportation is adding 10 minutes to the end of the day. And so that's what we've done for all the schools except one. We'll get to that here, and that's Midville Elementary. Get to that in just a second. So just so you know, we will have 6 elementaries. We'll go from 3:45 to 3:45. I'm just gonna focus on those 6. They're on those on the list there. Under the state board, just so you're aware, under the USB rule, the bus has to wait 7 minutes before it can leave the parking lot, so kids can get their backpacks and coats. So, when the bell rings, they just can't pull, they gotta wait 7 minutes. Now, of course, the kids who are walking can leave right then, but those on the bus can't. all our elementary runs are pretty short or compact, if you will. You know, we have neighborhood schools, so they don't have to drive too far to drop off these kids. Right now, all of our routes, students are dropped off between 4 o'clock and 4:05. So moving that back, it'd be 4:10 to 4:15. My boys were at Oak Hollow, one of the schools that it has that 3/4, well, has that late evening time. You know, they'd come home. We lived about a third of the mile from the bus stop. And we were the next to last stop on the route. So most of it was emptied. My boys would usually come in the door about 4 o'clock. Depending on how fast they walked from the stop, and talk with the friends, but it's about 4 o'clock when they got in the door. So now we're looking at, you know, around that 4:10 to 4:15, the last one's dropped off. Then bus will be back, all the buses should be back at the garage by 4:30, 4:35, depending on where they're coming from and traffic at that time. That's not the biggest deal, it's when the kids get dropped off, so that's what we're focused on. One of the things that we are proposing to change on is Midville Elementary compared to Midville Middle. Midville Middle is not changing. But what we have is, we have a 25-minute time difference, ending Midville Middle ends 25 minutes earlier than Midville Elementary right now. And that's been causing some problems the last couple of years, and that the middle school kids, and Cindy and Alice, I'll ask you to help out if need be, have been causing problems in that they've been going over and causing some disruption at the elementary school because they are waiting for their kids, the brother or sister, to get out of school. And sometimes mom and dad will just make one trip and pick them all up at once. That's usually what's happening here. Or they're just gonna wait for those younger sibling to walk home. So that 25 minutes has been somewhat of a problem. We're trying to get that down to 15 minutes. So we're actually proposing that Midville Elementary start 10 minutes and end 10 minutes earlier than they are right now, so to cause that issue. On Friday though, because of transportation issues, they were still in at 1:25. So they're actually gonna go 10 minutes longer than all the other schools. We ran that by the staff there and they're fine with that. With prep, you know, with any, prep time, but that's the one change we're proposing. So all these other schools, you highlighted Midville Elementary, that's their proposed time. Everybody else's start time stays the same, but the end time is 10 minutes different, except on Fridays. The end time is still what it is this year. And then there's no change for the secondary schools, so. Any questions, comments on that? That's all I got for that.
Mrs. Tingy.
Yeah, so I know when we had the discussion about the elementary prep time, we talked about this and you mentioned that 10 minutes would have to be added. But there was some question about once the schools really have their day schedules figured out, the brain increase in brain booster time, that some schools could work it out so they don't need the extra 10 minutes, so they wouldn't need to come later. Have we gotten that information?
Got that, but that's gonna be problematic. I can just tell you how our bus routes work. We have roughly 70 bus routes. 40 of those routes we call are either triple stacked or quadruple stacked, meaning they do a run from to a high school, then to a middle school, then to an earlier start elementary, then to a later start elementary. That's a quadruple stack. We only have about 5 or 6 of those. We have about 35 that are triple stacked, which we like, we like the efficiency of a triple stack, right? They will do a high school or, not an and, but an or middle school, then an earlier elementary and a later elementary. And so if an elementary doesn't move, wants to stay where it's at, one of these later elementaries, but the one above it wants to move back to 10 minutes, our buses aren't going to be able to accommodate that. Does that make sense? And so that's the issue we have. We're going to have to lessen our efficiency on our busing. And also we have about another 20 routes that are double stacked, and that usually is a middle school and an elementary. So if they move, the middle school might have to, that gets, so it gets dicey that way. And that problem, I know we did talk about that as a team, but that's the problem we're gonna have is.
Yeah, I just bring it up because a couple of those later schools are in my area and I'm hearing from
I am too.
people about that.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I get it where, for the most part, but I'm just kind of wondering if it's even practical to look into some of that or.
Yeah, we looked into it and the only other option is high schools wouldn't have to change. But you'd probably have to, if you didn't want the 10 minutes at the end of the day, you'd probably have to move the middle schools 10 minutes
Right.
earlier.
But what if it was not even? What if it's just
It's
not even
just the
10
same.
minutes? They just stay the same.
Stay the same, not move at all.
And we could do that, but all of them would have to do that. Does that make sense? You just can't have, if you pick, say, I think my one would be, say, Alton View here. Buses go from Alton View, then they'll go down to Draper, right, and pick up, let's say at Willow Springs Elementary. If Alton View, if we want to move back Alton View 10 minutes, the Willow Springs has to move back 10 minutes as well, for the buses to still make that route. Does that make sense? Because if not, then they're not gonna have enough time because Alta View is ending 10 minutes later. They have 10 minutes to drop, 10 minutes less to drop off their kids and get down to Draper to pick up the kids there. And that's the problem we have, is stacking those routes.
So the elementaries are stacked. I just want to make sure I understand. So elementaries are stacked, not just middle school.
Yeah, we have buses who serve,
All of them.
yeah, we have buses that serve 2 elementaries, yeah, lots of.
And
I have,
Mr. Edel,
because I still have this same concerns. If they don't change anything and just don't take that 10 minutes, that's where I don't see where you'd have to move.
Then you don't have to do anything. We could just keep the same time. If you shorten up math and you shorten up ELA to 5 minutes in the day, you can just keep the same time.
Adding 23 hours of instruction over the course of the year from summer.
Well, their argument is that we do more minutes than required by the state. I'm just saying what they tell me.
What are you saying?
We're not saying we disagree with that.
The minutes and.
We don't do more minutes than the state. We have just put into our block intervention time, the actual minutes of over instruction, state requirement.
Okay, Mr. Edel, and then we got,
I just
like
wondered-
5 minutes, we gotta wrap it up. Or I guess we could always bring it back if. Well,
this is first reading.
This is first reading, so it's coming back.
I'm pretty sympathetic to the parents of the 9 o'clock. I have a couple of those schools in my area and I'll be directly affected, which pretty significantly impacts our extracurricular activities, which we don't have enough time to get to right now anyway. At the same time, I did want to point out, because I did ride the bus for Sandy Elementary and Glacier Hills. And because I was thinking in my head, like, is there really no time? And the answer is there really is no time. Like, there wasn't much downtime on that bus. As soon as we were done with the Sandy route, it was pretty a quick turn to get over to Glacier Hills in time to pick up the kids. And so I just wanted to mention that and point that out, because that wasn't in my head about an hour ago. But it is a real factor. Like, they were rushing to try to get there on time for the next one. So we're in a really tough place here where I think that there's no winning.
Thank you, Andrew. Mrs. Nybar.
So we have, at our elementary school that my kids go to, Willow Springs, it's a late dismissal time and, the parents are told you can't really check out your kids within 10 minutes of the bell because then there's too many kids that are wanting to do that. Like, that's policy that you're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be either be earlier or it's not our policy. I'm just telling you about a local building policy. So we do have to realize there's a huge impact on the building if we do that. Like, you know, there'll be a couple hundred kids that are being checked out, you know, if it goes till 3:45 that have things that start at 4 o'clock. That's just the nature of it, you know, they can't get to their soccer practices or their dance or those things, so it is something we need to consider, that we're also really impacting the front office for that, so we do need to discuss this more, because it's not as big a deal if I'm out of you.
Yeah.
You know, that gets out, oh, now we get out at 3:05 or 3:15. I think anything before 3:30, honestly, 3:35 is really pushing it. And Willow Springs is I think the latest dismissal, and Oak Hollow, which are both.
Yeah, we have, as we.
I represent.
Yes.
That's it, yeah. Two of them are in my district, and that it's, I already hear about our late dismissal before we did the extra 10 minutes. And I have been getting emails and phone calls about it, so this is gonna impact, so we do need to.
But we did as a board already vote for adding 10 minutes, I'm just saying, so.
We did.
We did, but in the
We also said we did.
discussion, Nancy had said, could it be possible if the principal could work it out not to do the 10 minutes? And then we all said, yes, we can leave it up to the local building to decide. But now it's like, actually with buses, we can't.
Gather the information.
Yeah, at least gather the information. Now we're saying, oh, well, with the bus schedule, we can't. So there was part of that discussion that we were under one understanding, and now it sounds like it's different. So we probably need to
I
just.
mean, I do know, like my daughter they got out at 3:40. I would pick her up. She had like a snack in the car. I would take her straight to soccer practice. I mean, so I do understand. I do understand. It's hard. It's not easy. It's a pain. Okay, well, we're gonna have some more fun conversations in the future, it sounds like.
Tough.
Yeah, it's hard. I
Yeah.
mean, I just wish we had more money. I mean, if we had more money, we'd have more buses. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah, and I have one other thing real quick. I just have to mention at the faculty listening to our meeting at Draper Park Middle School, it was pointed out by a few teachers that we still do have like 25% of the school doing opt out of first period, and what that does to them as teachers. So just wanted to point that out as we're approving proposed secondary bell schedules. We still do have an issue at Draper Park, and there is 400 kids that are not participating in first period. So just, I said I would take that back.
Okay, I will declare this meeting over, and 5 more minutes, we will be in business, and we'll move item C to new business.
Well, is that option?
It's for everyone.
everyone to the business meeting of the Canyons Board of Education. Today is March 26, 2024. We are meeting at the district office located at 9361 South, 300 East in Sandy, Utah. I would like to excuse Board Member Oakes, and we will start by approving the agenda tonight. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda with one change, and that is moving item 3C to be placed as item 9C.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to that motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We had some extra little voices in there. That was fun. Thank you. Okay, so now we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Scott Jameson, the principal of Altoview Elementary, and then also hear some school highlights.
Please stand for the pledge. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You ready for us? Yes, go ahead.
My name is Ava Shipler. I'm in the 4th grade at Altoview and am a member of the Student Council. I love being a part of Student Council because I get to help plan fun and meaningful activities for the school. Every year, Student Council sponsors a service fundraiser for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We call this fundraiser Harry Potter Penny Wars. This year, we raised $9,090. That helps fund research to cure cancer. The Slytherin House won this year. The Altoview Student Council has taught me how to be a leader and how important it is to be an example at and away from school. La escuela de Altoview la escuela de Altoview ha tenido el programa de español DLI por 15 años. Aprender el español nos permite comunicarnos con personas que vienen de otros países. Hemos hecho amigos en todos lados porque hablamos español. También hemos aprendido cosas bonitas e interesantes de otras culturas gracias al programa de DLI. Este año el 80% de los estudiantes de DLI han anotado grados al nivel o más alto de nivel en el examen de Apple, que esto arriba del nivel de distrito y del estado. Mi hermano y yo nos encanta aprender español en Altoview. My name is Aiden Johnson, and what my brother just said is that Altoview has had a Spanish DLI program for 15 years. Learning Spanish lets us communicate with people from other countries. We've made friends with people everywhere we go because we can speak Spanish. We also get to learn neat things about other cultures because of the Spanish program. This year, 80% of our DLI students scored on level or above on the Apple test, which is above the district and state average. My brother and I love learning Spanish at Altoview. My name is Carl Fuller, and I'm a Playworks junior coach. Being a junior coach is rewarding. In this program, I learned how to work as a team and be a leader and teach others how to play and cooperate in new games each day. During COVID, we stopped the junior coach program and
and had more issues on the playground. Since bringing junior coaches back, we've seen a decrease in the playground difficulties.
My name is Jessica Davies and I'm the PTA president in Altaview. Altaview families love being a part of our school community. This year, thanks to the support from our families, the PTA has given our classes $14,675 in teacher grants. We've helped with 36 different activities so far, and school volunteers have clocked an amazing 4,528 school volunteer hours, or 38 hours per school day. Altaview has also been designated as a school of excellence by the National PTA. When families and schools work together, our students reap the benefits, and Altaview is a great example of this. Lastly, and he'll be so embarrassed that I'm saying this, but I want to acknowledge our principal and all of his hard work with our students. Last week, he received the Sandy City Mentor of the Year award, and he is also the 2024 Administrator of the Year for Region 17 PTA. These awards were very well deserved, and our school community is very proud of him.
I'm Katie Rowley, and I'm the current chairperson of the SCC at Altaview. Our council thrives through our diversity of all of our members. With a group that is made up of everything from professional parents to parent professionals, educators and educational professionals, we all represent a very diverse background and bring a variety of different perspectives and cultures to the table. In our 2024 RISE testing, our Rockstar students were able to achieve 11% growth in fifth grade math, 9% growth in ELA math, 15% in fifth grade math, and 13% in science. We are so honored to be able to be led by Scott. Again, I hope he's blushing a little bit because he's amazing. And with his leadership, with the council, we're able to foster an environment of open communication, one that we're able to leverage all of our unique perspectives, and we're able to tackle the different challenges that come to the school and shape solutions that help with student success and the overall well-being of the school. As we wrap up today, I'm going to have my assistant Riggs here help get you guys some postcards. We're hosting our first ever spring break postcard drive, where we're giving every person in the school a self-addressed stamped postcard, where we're going to have them draw what they do at spring break and write a little note and mail it directly to Scott Jameson at the school. So we're hoping to flood him with more than 600 postcards, and we hope you guys will help us do that.
Okay, is that the end of your presentation? Oh, great. Wow. Well, thank you so much. Like, we love to see all you students here tonight and to hear from you. That's like a special treat for us, because we hear a lot of stuff from grown-ups. So it's fun to hear from kids. So thanks for being here. Anyway, that was great to hear from student council, to hear about what you guys do in your fundraiser about Spanish DLI. That was great. Playworks, being a Playworks coach, what that means. And then also just from the PTA and SCC, thank you. Thank you for being here. And also congratulations on your awards. That is amazing. And I do know you're coming to one of my schools, so I'm happy about that. I'm sure your community is not happy, but I've heard a lot of good things. So Okay, well, thank you. And we will just go on with our meeting. The next item on the agenda is the Canyon Strong Employee Recognitions. And that will be led by Jeff Haney, Director, and Kirsten Stewart, Associate Director of Communications.
Thank you, President Schill, for the time the board grants us to recognize the achievements of employees in the Canyon School District. These Canyon Strong employees have gone above and beyond in their pursuit of excellence. Those who are mentioned tonight will receive a letter of commendation from the board and the superintendent. Now, before we mention our honorees, we wanted to thank Hillcrest High School for hosting the Unified Sports Special Olympics basketball exhibition this afternoon. 12 state first ladies plan to be in attendance with our very own First Lady, Abby Cox. They were in town for a Governors Association conference, and we are honored that they would visit one of our schools to see our student athletes compete in the Unified Special Olympics basketball exhibition. It was a wonderful time. I'm so glad they were there to see our students compete. Also, if you'll take a look at the screen, you'll see one of the announcements that's happened so far this week. Indian Hills announced Lindsay Nicholson as its Teacher of the Year. This is the week that we'll see a lot of announcements on social media of our schools celebrating their Teachers of the Year. In Canyons District, per tradition, every school picks one teacher to be its Teacher of the Year. All of those teachers are then considered for the overall honor of being the Canyons District Teacher of the Year. The Canyons Education Foundation is a co-sponsor of the Teacher of the Year celebration, and they give each Teacher of the Year a bag full of gifts and prizes, including $250 cash that they can spend as they wish. This year's Teacher of the Year ceremony will be April 23rd at Butler Middle School. The reception starts at 6:15, and we will start the ceremony at 7 o'clock. We hope the entire community not only watches the social media pages this week of our schools and the district to see all of our great Teachers of the Year be honored, but come and see who is selected as our overall Teacher of the Year. Our first Canyon Strong honorees tonight are, Julie, this isn't quick. There we go. As we have already noted, Scott Jameson received an award from Sandy City. Mr. Jameson was celebrated at the Sandy One Awards. He was nominated and chosen to receive this Mentor of the Year honor. Now, each year, Sandy City highlights key people who have significantly impacted the community. And Mr. Jameson certainly is one of those people. As we've noted, the winners receive nominations, and then the Sandy administration chooses the finalists based on those nominations. Sandy City tells me that these honors award those who strengthen the community, bring diverse communities closer together, influence change, promote understanding, show depth of leadership, and build bridges. Mr. Jameson received this award on the 21st, so congratulations to him. Our next Canyon Strong recognition is for Nicole Rudes, who is a teacher at Albion Middle School. The Utah State Board of Education announced the names of the 5 Utah finalists for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. This is the highest honor given by the United States government for K-12 science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and computer science teaching. Nicole is one of the 2 Utah teachers picked as finalists in mathematics instruction. The other are in science instruction, and of the 5, 2 will be chosen for to be the 2024 awardees from Utah and receive a paid trip for 2 to Washington, D.C. They'll receive, go to a lot of recognition events, and they'll get a $10,000 award from the National Science Foundation. So congratulations to Ms. Roods and good luck as she moves forward through the selection process. Our next Canyon Strong honoree also is being recognized for her mathematics instruction. The Brighton High teacher, Kristen Reuter, received the George Shell Award at the annual conference of the Utah Council of Teachers Mathematics, the Utah Council of Teachers of Mathematics. Now, the recipients of this award for middle school or high school teachers encourage student achievement by providing activities that enhance the understanding of math concepts. So congratulations to Kristen for this award. She received that, like we noted, at the Utah Council of Teachers of Mathematics annual conference, which was just in the past couple months. Also, our next honoree is Robert Violano. He has been awarded the honor of being University of Utah's 2024 Outstanding Public School Teacher of the Year. Every year, the University of Utah recognizes one public school educator who exemplifies excellence in teaching in K-12 classrooms. So Robert, Bob, as many people call him, he is recognized for his work at Midville Middle School and serving as the site teacher for the University of Utah's teacher education program. And as a mentor, he guides future teachers to become confident in their abilities and ensure quality educational experiences for every learner. He'll be recognized at the University of Utah's commencement ceremony and at the University of Utah's College of Education's convocation ceremony. So congratulations to him for this honor. Our next honoree is in the instructional supports, excuse me, where did it go? There it is. Our next honoree is the ISD's Bernice Allen. She was nominated by her department to receive a Canyon Strong mention during the recognitions portion of the board meeting. She is a multilingual learner specialist. She reached out to the co-author of Letters and 95% to collaborate on ways to support our ML students and help teachers build deeper knowledge on high leverage strategies for all students, including ML learners. She worked with 3 elementary schools to pilot this collaboration and offered training to the staff and all elementary ALS coordinators and instructional coaches. The work focused on language acquisition and how students grow through the stages of language acquisition and through learning English with phonological awareness and phonics. We're told a recent training was impressive and impactful for all those who participated. So thank you to Ms. Allen for all that she is doing to support our ML students. And our next honoree is from Draper Park Middle School, Nate Ricks. Now, last week at the annual conference of the Utah Coalition for Education Technology, the middle school teacher received the UCET Innovative Teacher Award. Now, this honor recognizes teachers for supporting student learning through innovative teaching practices involving technology. Those chosen for this award raise awareness and exposure of outstanding work being done by classroom teachers through innovative technology practices. So congratulations to Mr. Ricks for receiving this award. President Schill, thank you for this time that the board grants us to celebrate our the Canyon's Strong employees. I'll turn the time back to you.
Okay, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is we do not have any patron comments tonight, so we will skip item 7 and go on to item 8, which is the consent agenda. So I will ask for a motion and please read the items individually.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. A, approval of minutes for March 12th, 2024. B, approval of minutes for March 19th, 2024. C, approval of hire and termination reports, approval of purchasing bids, approval of student overnight travel, approval of February financial reports, approval of kindergarten early out proposal for the first week of the 2024-2025 school year, and approval of administrative appointments.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Nybar. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to that motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is new business, and we'll start with item A, strategic plan focus group report, human-centered supports, and Thrive Time update by Dr. Brian McGill, Director of Student Services.
Thank you, President Shield, Kansas School Board, Dr. Robbins, Leon. Thanks for the opportunity to present our most recent updates with the Human Centered Supports Committee, and also a welcome to Chris tonight as well. Enjoyed our conversation before you were sworn in. I do have to share one quote from Mont that has resonated with me as I prepared this presentation tonight, and that was when the Hillcrest construction project was taking place. He made mention in one of the meetings that the Hillcrest weight room was Brian stamp approved. So that meant a lot being, into the weight circuit that I'm into. So, and he always had an eye for fiscal accountability, which I very much appreciated. So welcome to the board and appreciate you serving in this capacity. So I figured I'd start with the impact statement for human-centered supports, just as a reminder, again, to the focus of this work. All students, families, and employees feel safe, supported, and have a sense of belonging in their school communities. And then I also listed both initiatives up there as well. Big component of that, again, is providing the physical, social, and psychological safety for students and staff, and then implementing tiered systems that support that process. In the human-centered supports group up front, we created a diamond framework. These are our 4 prioritized areas, and listed under each of those are the data indicators. So ways in which we are measuring, looking at data, evaluating, making decisions, future decisions based on each of those 4 given areas. The first topic that I'd like to present to you is on Thrive Time. We're about 18 months into the project now. This is a K-8 curriculum focused on life skills and character education. And we've also interwoven a lot of the same Thrive Time strands within the High School Leadership Academy, which I'll touch on here in a bit. We've done a lot in regards to this, and I do have to say a lot of credit, although I'm the voice of this tonight, a lot of credit really needs to go to the instructional supports team and our curriculum experts. I know Amber and Jonathan and Laura have put a lot of time and energy and effort into revising and refining and making sure that the lessons are hitting the targets that our teacher, parent, and student feedback have provided us with. We've got some very positive feedback from principals already, which is great. In fact, I got to give a shout out to Mid-Valley and Margaret Swaneke. She actually sent me some quotes that parents from her community shared with her. She's had 68 positive responses from parents, which is awesome. One of those I'll just share with you is, thank you very much for this plan to support our children. The plan is excellent. I know it will greatly benefit students, parents, and our schools. The intended outcomes of Thrive Time, again, we want a positive school culture and climate. Ultimately, we want attendance to go up. That's one of our priorities as a district. Make sure students are engaged. Make sure that they're being involved with their PBIS program. And then also we want to see behaviors and discipline issues be reduced overall in terms of numbers. And we'll highlight and touch on that as well. Just to provide you some feedback with the process, the teacher survey that we sent out, we got 400 back. There were 3 common themes that came up from that. The first of those being timing and engagement and activities. So those were kind of the 3 areas that Amber and her team focused on, making sure that the lessons were in the right time, manner, and the right sequence, and then providing multiple engaging activities that the students get to participate in. The data overall skewed very positive. And then one of the needed efforts that we need to look to build upon is including scaffolds for our multi-language students, our SPED, and other neurodiverse learners. Parent survey responses, we opened that up in April of 2023. We've got a lot of parent feedback. We've incorporated that in on the forefront of it, as well as that feedback has come in through the surveys. And then we had 6,000 student survey responses, which is great. Very positive feedback. The one thing that they want to see from their peers is those peers to actually use the skills that they are learning to create that positive culture within their school. In working with IAC and our principals and levels, every principal reported using the units of curriculum beyond just the assigned unit at the start of the year. Schools like having the flexibility to use the units based upon the needs of their community. We've been talking about teacher training and what that might look like. There's been some ideas presented there. Technology platform is something that we still need to decide upon. So our development team will be moving that forward here pretty quick. And then overall, like I said, we want to measure the effectiveness of the program. Those are some different indicators in which we can do that. Alongside each lesson in each unit, there are Thrive Time developmental learning targets. Again, ISD has done a really nice job of putting these into motion so that there's a rubric provided for teachers to see and make sure that kids are actually hitting the learning intended targets. And then off to the right there, you'll see each of the 6 different units that are provided, which is also online through a drop-down menu for anyone to access, which is right there. Another nice thing that ISD has done is they've really made it an enhancement with it being a lot more aesthetically pleasing in terms of just, graphics, design. Each of the lessons has a greeting, sharing, learning activity, and a message to kind of conclude the lesson. And I think overall, it's great that we're having these conversations with students so that we can face some of these issues head on. Again, because we want students to be treating each other with respect and kindness and building an inclusive culture. And it's hard if you're not actually being explicit with teaching and helping kids come to understand that. One of the things that Canyons has seen as a leader in is with the mental health screening nights. This is legislation pushed by Representative Eliason. As you can see there, we've really expanded our horizon in terms of the numbers that we've offered and the students that we're supporting. We went from 4 sessions in 2021, 21-22, and 22-23 to a number of, what do we got up there? 7 sessions. We did 154. The one that we held at Draper Park last Thursday, we actually had our highest attendee. We had 30 students and parents show up for that. So right now we're at the 184 mark and we still have 1 night to go. Other districts have looked to us in terms of how we're running it, how we're facilitating it, advertising it, that sort of a thing. And one of the things that the students and parents walk away with in doing these mental health screening nights is they get a pretty good indicator of what's called a resilience measuring indicator. And what we're seeing overall is there's an optimal, satisfactory, concern and immediate support. And about 54% of our students are falling into those latter 2, which means they need support at school and in some cases wraparound supports with mental health outside of school. The lowest indicators as part of that resilience measuring indicator are global satisfaction, grit, right, which is grinding through stuff, working through stuff, and then anxiety and depression. So those are the 4 lowest scores as part of that indicator that come forward that, provide us with the information to be able to support these kids. Our student high school leadership academy has been a lot of fun this year. We're wrapping that up here on April 16th. This last session, we're going to be focused on culture and climate plans, and we're going to be providing the students with their PBIS framework, their culture and climate goal as part of their TSSP. And then I'm also providing a 1-page high-level overview of their SHARTS data so they can actually build and mold a plan that's specific based upon the needs of their individual school community. And the advisors will be helping them through that process as well. We've had a lot of upperclassmen as well as underclassmen participate, which is great. As the upperclassmen graduate and move on, these underclassmen can take new students in for next year and mentor them and help bring them along in the process. We've interwoven, like I said, the Thrive Time components, as you can see up there, in each of the high school leadership academies. And credit given to Tom Sherwood. He's put a lot of effort and energy into this as well. It's been a lot of fun for us to run these this year. Let's talk a little bit about student behavior. So our district support team is a committee that's established to be able to help support schools when we find kids in a level 2, level 3 behavioral type infraction. You can see the numbers there. Those are facilitated by Chancey Lauren. And it's an opportunity for us to really provide a lot of supports to the student, the parents, and back to the school. District case management team is for our level 4, level 5 behaviors. So the more significant, these would be, school threats, weapons, things of that nature. You can see the rise and the increase with that. It's been pretty substantial over the last couple of years, and we're on pace to be pretty much where we were a year ago. About 80% of those are secondary. I run the high school, Paula does the middle school, and Chancey does the elementary level DCMT. And then just looking at some of the trends as far as referrals coming in, it's very clear to see that in the elementary, middle school, and the high school, that these referrals, a lot of our high need schools, right, our high impacted schools, is where a majority of a lot of these referrals are coming through. So the Mid-Belt community, the Jordan community, and those cones. So as you take a look at the numbers, that kind of demonstrates that through all 3 levels. The top 5 discipline types that we see across the board, there's 2 that show up more frequently than the rest, and that is disruption and defiance. We have House Bill 347, which just recently passed, which ensures that students have a safe classroom environment to be able to learn within. And so we see such things as this, and like our Youth Academy, which is a continuum of part of our education system here in Canyons, to provide opportunities to be able to support students in need, as well as the students that are in class where disruptions may be happening habitually or an unsafe environment. And on that notion, Youth Academy is one of the continuum offerings that we have in Canyons. We've seen a tremendous amount of success with this program. We've got 4 units. We added the additional 4th unit a year ago, which is our DCMT referral Youth Academy. We've had 82 students to date be served in this program. And again, it's focused on dropout prevention, increasing graduation rates, and helping students overall with therapeutic supports. House Bill 304, which is the reintegration placement. Our Youth Academy program has really helped with this, where we have to provide educational-based opportunities for students, but they can't be on a traditional campus. So this has lent itself for us to be able to find that happy medium so that we're not just sending kids to online or through home and hospital. They're actually getting support from gen ed, sped ed, and counselors as part of that environment. Our student wellness rooms, a big shout out to Denise and the foundation. We worked with LDS Church, and they provided us with a pretty significant donation to help outfit all of our secondary schools as it relates to wellness rooms. This is kind of an interesting slide because it shows the overall visits in this given school year based upon counselors, our social workers, nurses, psychs, our school-based mental health therapists, and you can see the trend line is up significantly in each of those areas. The one thing that I do want to point out, Canyons has been stellar and a leader in terms of providing supports. Big thanks to Leon and Rick, and having the vision and ensuring that kids have measures to be able to connect as it relates to mental health supports. On our SHARP survey this year, we were one of the few districts where students self-reported a drop in depression as well as suicidation. And the one thing that I can attribute that to is the fact that we have really outfitted our schools with the right levels of support to make sure that we're helping all kids. Our nursing services, they do an amazing job. That 500 students vaccinated. I just talked with Jen yesterday, and she said through 3rd quarter now, we're at 1,200 plus, and those are all students where through those vaccination efforts, we're actually keeping them in school. So we're working on that attendance priority. Safe UT, which is the app that our students can use to send a chat or a text or call directly to uni and connect with the counselor. I thought it'd be interesting to just show some of the highlights there, the top 10 referral areas. So that data is listed there. About 60% of these are coming in after hours. That's the one message that I wish our legislature could see and hear, is the fact that we have educators that are caring for kids around the clock 24/7 and literally saving students' lives. I've been a part of these conversations by phone with parents, and we have literally saved students' lives through this app. And again, this is an app that was pushed heavily and started by Representative Elias and Senator Thatcher in 2016. Employee wellness initiatives. I want to give a big shout out to Steve Diamond in our HR department. I believe it was Andrew Edel in our human-centered focus group that said we need to push this and we need to move fast in terms of providing opportunities for our employees to have daycare. And so Steve took that, ran with it. We're now at a place, again, these numbers are probably about a week and a half old. Jordan High School with 77 applications, Corner 26. Steve, I'm sure we're probably higher than that now. And so as part of that, I also asked Steve what our capacity was. At Jordan, we can do 4 infants and 48 toddlers. And at Corner, we can do 4 infants and 23 toddlers, just based upon the space dynamics of each of those locations. But really, when you look at teacher recruitment and retention, this is an amazing benefit to be able to provide back at a very subsidized cost for our employees. The Employee Wellness Clinic is something that is in the works. It's part of our long-range planning committee. I will say that we introduced, we had a presentation from IHC on telehealth supports, and we had a conversation in cabinet yesterday. It looks very promising that we're going to look to pilot a program exploring telehealth services for our students, and staff can also access that through our nurses in our schools. IHC is going to be donating a big portion of the equipment, and we're going to target our high need schools first and foremost. And if we find success through that, we can discuss and look at ways of potentially expanding that out for more students. But we're pretty excited about that. Wasatch School District is using it. They've seen a 275% increase in their student attendance, mostly at the elementary level, and about 10% of their staff are utilizing it. And if you think about it, just the convenience and the access alone, parents aren't having to come get kids, check them out, take them to Instacare. Employees that are sick, that are kind of on the bubble, they can actually get a picture of their inner throat, inner ear, get a diagnosis, get a prescription, stay throughout the day and pick that prescription up on their way home. So it's a tremendous benefit and support that we see being able to provide to our students and our employees. Shauna Flash in HR does an amazing job with wellness incentives. She sends out competitions each month that employees can participate in for drawings and prizes. And then we're also right now in the process of Robert Reeder has put together an RFP committee. Steve and I are serving on that. And that's looking at either continuing with Bloomquist and Hell or looking at other employee assistant based type programs to provide supports for employees across the board. We have about 6.5% of our employees accessing our current employee assistance program. Over half of those are for mental health specifically. So a big request there in the mental health sector. This has been kind of fun. So every Friday, as we came back from winter break, at the start of the year, we did a kickoff with Lonnie Main, who's the author of Red Shoes Living. And if you're not familiar with his work, it's actually really cool. He works with corporate entities across the globe and humanizing business so that leaders within those organizations actually see their employees as humans first and professionals second, and forging relationships that support that process and the results that come from that over time. So he did a kickoff for all of our wellness staff. I know we had Amber and Karen there at the start of the year. It was a lot of fun, great morning. And so we have instituted a Red Shoes Living Award. And so every Friday, we make it a commitment as a team. It's the most important thing and actually the most fun thing that we do. And every given week is we go out to the school and we present either a team or an individual on the wellness staff with that Red Shoes Living Award. They get a certificate, they get a book, and then we have a little red Converse keychain they get to walk away with as well. What's been really fun about this is it may not seem like that big of a deal, but we have had employees in tears, literally crying with joy because somebody is seeing them, hearing them, recognizing them, validating for the work that they're doing day in and day out. And quite honestly, as we all know, there's probably not anything more important than that, than ensuring that our educators know that they're valued and loved. So it's been a lot of fun for us to participate in this. And then just lastly, we have our district-wide behavioral plan. So all of our professional development targeted at principals this year has been on their MTSS model. We utilize the tiered fidelity inventory, looking at strengths and weaknesses. for each school based on a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 system format. And we've given them time, support, and training this year to be able to maximize and build the best MTSS model for their school and incorporate that into their practices. We provided a school safety advocates, which are our hall monitors, a training that just wrapped up last Friday. This was provided courtesy of the state, and all of our hall monitors walked away with a certificate of completion. So as we look at a focus on creating safe schools, this is one additional measure that we wanted to provide our frontline staff with in the schools. We felt it was very important to provide some training for them. And then we're also providing dialectical behavior training for teachers. This is something that BJ Willer's been working on this spring. We've got a significant number of teachers that have signed up for that. And it's basically to help teachers with de-escalation strategies, emotional regulation with students, that sort of thing. So to try to minimize behaviors in the classroom, which we know is a major issue. So that's pretty much a wrap. I know it was pretty quick and dirty and fast. Got the diamond framework up there again with the data indicators in which we look at all these data points throughout the scope and span of the year, but would like to open it up for questions. So.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So board, who has questions or comments? Okay, Mrs. Nybar.
I love seeing those pictures of the Red Shoes living. I think that's really awesome for these great individuals to be recognized for all they do. And so I think that's really awesome. And I think in the nature of your department where it's a lot of it's responsive services and everyone working together and you know, sometimes very stressful situations to instead take that and it's not a response. It's like turned the other way. So I think that's pretty awesome. I had a question on your graphs. So the only schools that are mentioned are the ones that have had referrals.
Correct.
And
You're
then
talking about the DCMT
the
referrals.
DCMT.
Yeah.
And then also, there's a patron watching and I just was thinking that I had a text from that maybe for the public, we should explicitly say what DCMT stands for
Oh, yeah.
and how a student gets to that place.
We have all kinds of acronyms, right? And
Yeah.
we all know it, right? Speaking the lingo, but yeah, it's District Case Management Team. And it's basically a committee that's formulated in looking at safe school violations, ensuring that the victims have the proper supports and safety plan measures put in place, as well as accountability measures for the offenders and restorative practices and skill-based development and when and where necessary mental health supports for students. So that's really the focal point of that particular committee. And DCMT again is for level 4, level 5, the most extreme, most egregious behaviors. So.
Awesome. Thanks for that explanation. And then just one other thing is if a student has had different incidences, can you explain, is it based on how frequently we're seeing these behaviors, intensity, or what levels it up to the DCMT?
Yeah, I would say all of the above. Generally, in looking at our levels of behavior, it's a 1 through 5 scaled structure. Levels 1 and 2 are generally managed at the classroom and or school level. Our level 3 behaviors, which are a little bit more, egregious. We have district support team that administrators can refer a student through that process, and we provide the same level of supports for that student and that family. And then, like I said, for level 4, level 5, that comes through DCMT, our district case management team. So similar process. But yeah, schools know that they can reach out to us if they've got a student where they've basically done tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 interventions. They're just not seeing the success that they would like to see from the student. They know that they have an additional layer of support, and we have referrals every week for our district support team. And the team comes and we hear them out. We look at all the data. We make data informed decisions to best support that student. And sometimes that's looking at youth academy as an alternative. Sometimes it's returning back to the school. Sometimes it's looking at an alternative school. So yeah, that's kind of the process for that. So, and we hold those on Wednesdays. So makes for long Wednesdays. DCMT runs from 8 to 11, and then we turn around and do DST usually from about 11 to 2. So
Awesome. Thank you so much.
that.
Okay, Mrs. Oh, Mrs. one of you guys. Okay, Mrs. Pedersen, then Mrs. Deeney.
Just a quick question, Brian. I'm on your committee, obviously, so all of this has been presented very, very well. There was one line that didn't ring a bell with me, so I'd just like you to address it if you would. On the DCMT, District Case Management Team page, down at the bottom, you said restructuring for 24-25.
Yep. So what we're
Explain
looking to do there is a couple of things. One, potentially bringing it within the Student Wellness Services Department completely so that it allows Paula to be able to focus on our newcomers and multilingual learners. So that's really the only difference. The other part to it as well as part of that restructure is I would like to build in an additional layer for parent due process. That's part of the feedback that we've received this year from some of our parents. So when the school does their investigation, they do get a statement from the parents, so they're aware and they know the process. But I just feel like if we had an additional communications bridge from myself to the parents to explain what DCMT is, explain the process so that they see to it that it's, you know what, we're here to actually support your child. We're not here to ridicule them. We're not here to punish them. We want to provide them with the proper supports so that they can be successful at home as well as with their academics, attendance, and behavior in school. And so that's a phone call that I'm going to build into that process before we actually have the DCMT case review so that the parents understand the process a little bit better.
I don't know that we discussed that in committee, but I am firmly in support of that because I think we need to finish the loop.
Yeah.
Because it
agreed.
feels very one-sided, and to be able to have the parents understand what's happening and have their input considered is critical.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
So my question is about the district-wide behavioral plan and the MTSS and all of that. So my question is, how does that interface and or influence a school level positive behavior plan?
So a lot of the PBIS plans in Canyons are pretty strong for the most part. So what this has allowed principals to do is really take an in-depth look in terms of what their PBIS framework is, if changes need to be made to it, if they want to improve it, refine it. It's allowed them the process to be able to do that. So what we had them do this year, and we're continuing obviously because we have more training, is we want them to evaluate their tier 1, their tier 2, and their tier 3 interventions that they have in place at that local school level and see what areas that they need to add or refine to make that model better to be able to help support and serve students at school. So
Thank you.
you bet.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, I just want to say thank you. I love being on this committee, and I will say that I've been to some listening tours where the superintendent has mentioned the daycare. And I can just see just the response from teachers has been really good. They're just really happy, even if it's not for them, I think for their colleagues, so.
And again, I might be the voice of all of this, but there's a committee and a team that's working on all this. ISD has done a ton with Thrive Time, and Steve has done an amazing job and his team with moving this childcare support forward in the quick and timely manner in which he's done it. So a lot of credit goes to Steve. So
Yeah, thank you. And pass that on to your team. And I also want to say I'm really excited about that last presentation we had where we're talking about adding some kind of telehealth, or I don't know, we're still working on adding some kind of wellness piece to.
yeah, so the telehealth, I see it as being a bridge to the wellness clinic because we're able to provide a lot of the same supports through the telehealth service until we get to that point where we can actually open up a face-to-face clinic for our employees. So
Yeah, I really love that because they gave the example how a teacher could just, step out or on their break and call into a doctor. I mean, that is just amazing
Yeah.
because then they don't have to leave school. They don't have to take time off. I mean, that just seems like a huge benefit. So.
and honestly, looking at daycare and looking at our telehealth option, I think that's where these strategic plan focus committees have really come into play. Because with that, we're able to actually move momentum and drive things, I think, a little bit quicker. Sometimes in public education, we're not always seen as the quickest entity to things, part of this large bureaucratic structure. But for those people that know me, I like to just move and get things done. And if it's best for kids or best for employees, then let's figure out a way to do it. So
Yeah. Well, I do feel like that is a benefit of these strategic plan focus groups. I
I would
feel like
agree.
we're moving sometimes in a lot of different directions, but we are moving new things forward, I feel like faster. So anyway, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for deferring to this meeting. from
Oh,
last
yeah.
Last meeting. So
Present one last time. Yeah, it's okay. Whatever that.
yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for all you're doing.
Okay. Thanks, you guys.
Okay, we'll move on to item B, and that is policy update. We have a number of policies, and we also have Steve Diamond is going to present this today. This is second reading possible action board.
I get to be the substitute this evening for Jeff. He would love to be here, but he's home ill. So, but I do want to express my appreciation to him as well as our policy committee for the work that they've done on these three different policies. Personally, I think they're model policies that could be used throughout the state. The military leave and military stipend, a great benefit for our employees. We have not made any changes to this, but as soon as this is approved, there is a benefit that'll occur for one of our employees who's hourly as we speak. So that would be wonderful to be able to offer that to that employee. The provisional status, through the feedback, came up with some wonderful ideas to support our career administrators who've been in the district. There are no changes to this policy from our first reading. Once again, I think this is a great model that we can also mirror with our two other employee groups that would be a very good, solid benefit for them. So that's something that we need to look at for the future. Where we do have a small change between the first reading from our last one, from feedback that came, there's clarification regarding the administrator definition in the policy to exclude the business administrator, because the position and the contract is subject to the Board of Education. It's different, so we needed to make certain that that position was listed as excluded. Also, a revision of the policy heading to clarify contract termination. Through the years, it has said non-renewal of a career educator. Yes, that is part of state code, but it's never been used in any district that I can find in Utah. It's really, if you're going to end a career administrator's position, is through the termination policy. So by changing the verbiage, it just makes it more clear, as well as then just clarifying a few on the provisional listing. I think we added one additional line in there to clarify so that it kind of connected with the provisional policy that we have in place. And then there were just a few other cosmetic edits and to clarify some circumstances for provisional administrators when they could possibly be non-renewed. Are there any questions? And I'm hoping I can answer those. I'll do my best I can.
Okay, board, are there any questions or comments? Okay, looks like there is not. Oh, sorry, Mr. Edel.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt policy 400.28 military leave, policy 400.34 provisional status of administrative personnel, and policy 400.42 termination of employment administrative personnel.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to that motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion
Thank you,
passes
folks. Greatly
unanimously.
appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, our next item is item C we moved from study session. And so that is budget update 2024, 2025. And Leon Wilcox, business administrator, will present that.
Feels very weird to be on our last agenda item and just at 8 o'clock. We can get through this one very quickly. We need to get the very important things out of the way first. We need to talk about our NCAA brackets, as most companies are. Don't go, Rick. It should be said that Rick is leaving. He is number 7th. Way to go, Rick.
Nice.
Let's see, Justin, who's been around CSD TV, he is number 2.
Oh, nice.
Taylor Anderson is leading from VP at Corner Canyon, so. Also, we also, women's brackets, it should be noted that Kirsten, number 1. We are grateful for Kirsten because she actually did not pick a finals winner. So everybody's a winner in Kirsten. And it should also be said that Dan is number 2.
Oh, nice.
Let's hear it back there, Dan.
Wow. You must
He
have
was
been some
big
good
on UCLA, but not on USC, so. UCLA alumni. Just some quick budget updates. We'll have lots more as we get into developing our budget for in April and May. But just some quick things here. Legislative highlights. We all know we got a 5% WPU increase. The educator salary adjustment went up 6%. That's tied to the WPU increase for last year. TSA has gone up about 560,000. Grateful for that. Land trust about 157,000. We expect coming in from that. And big increases in our SPED add-on and our at-risk add-on as more WPUs have been put into these from the state. However, the at-risk came at a cost because it was offset by our losing our early literacy program, our ELL software program, our elementaries counselor program. So all those hurt, but it's still we still came out somewhat ahead of that. We want to talk about a couple things. This one is not so much for this upcoming year as we're set, but we want to look at our, as our enrollments change, our students change, our schools change. We really feel like we need to change our staffing ratios with that. And that's at the high schools. Appreciate Steve's work with this. But the high schools are they're so complicated because we got kids going to C-Tech, we have online classes, we have LDS seminary classes. They also get more TSSP money, land trust and TSSA, just because they have more students. They also get concurrent and AP funding as well. But we also have some big impacts there with ELL courses. And so what we're looking at is, we have our cushion here, but we want to keep the cushion separate maybe for the elementaries and middle schools and see if we can't balance things out with our high schools on their own. Again, this isn't for next year, but for maybe the years after. So right now, our current ratio is 23 students, they get 1 teacher. Not next year, but for the 25-26 year, we're looking at for Alta, Brighton, and Corner, increasing that to 27.8. That means each one will lose roughly a teacher to a teacher and a half. And then the year after that, going to 28.3, that means they may lose 1 or 2 teachers, double that. But those teachers would be transferred to Hillcrest and Jordan. Now, the physical teacher probably wouldn't move because just through attrition, people would stay there. But as new hires come in, Jordan, Hillcrest could get more just because to meet their needs with English language learners there. So we feel like that's a move. We have run this by all the high school principals. They seem to be fine with that proposal. Realizing that there's just, I think Tom may want to correct me, but some of these schools, Hillcrest and Jordan have 12 classes, 11. And these others just 1 or 2. So we feel like we want to, again, try to balance things out with the high schools that way and try to leave the cushion for the elementaries and middle schools. We may want to look at this at middle schools. Don't have any changes in the plans for that, but do we want to, and we have, the board has approved a program for middle where they do get extra FTEs there to help meet their needs. And we do use our school impact cushion, again, big thanks to Steve, where we do measure out ELL, bring reduced lunch rise data, all of that to try to equitably distribute our cushion out. to try to help out those schools that are most impacted. But again, we want to bring that to you. Again, not approving that, but that's a proposal with that on our secondary staffing, particularly the high schools. Community ed is a program that we want to talk about as well. Our participation has just, steadily decreased over the last couple of years. You can see the numbers there. Many of them are our students or school age kids who take our classes. Last year, we had about 18% of our classes canceled. This year, we're about 10%, but we didn't have as many because we weren't able to fill them last year. So we really don't try to come back with them this year. You can see where our classes are at, C-Tech, Indian Hills, and 3 elementaries. But we feel like the administration time could be put to other programs. We do supplement that about 75,000, which isn't a big deal in our budget of 380 million, but it is something. Other districts have eliminated their community ed, mainly Granite and Jordan. Salt Lake and us are the ones in the county who do run those. We also think we could be more targeted in that we could run, under our camps and clinics policy and program, we could run some before and after school programs with that, which may help, our elementary schools, which we somewhat hear about on a regular basis, helping those out with after school programs. So that is something for us to, for you to consider moving forward is community ed. We can come back to that and talk. Last 2 slides are, as we get in the middle of tax season as we prepare our taxes, I just want to show the impact of what the state has done, which, in a way is good, but it's impacted education. The state has been steadily dropping the income tax rate, which is a concern to us because all corporate and individual income taxes go into the income tax fund, uses to fund education. For a decade there, they have held the rate steady at 5% and dropped it down to 4.95 for about 4 years. Then the last couple of years, they've just done steady increases to 4.85, 4.65. This year, a bill passed to put it to 4.55 for this year, 24. And you can see if you're federal AGI, the impact you save there. And you can see that going across. It's somewhat of a regressive tax in that, the more you earn, the more you keep versus those who earn less. So that's, whereas the federals, they cut off at 15, 27 and 35. So there's different tiers there, but it's just a straight balance. But that does equal out statewide to about a $2 million hit to the education fund over time. And so that's a big cost to us, all that money. Is it 2 billion? I mean, 2 billion. Did I say? Yeah. 2 billion. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Over the last decade. Yeah. So that's a big hit to education right there. This last year was 170 million just to drop the rate from 4.65 to 4.55. That's the equivalent of about 4 WPU percentage points. So just wanted to put that out there. Next thing is property taxes, different type of tax, but just wanted to quickly review that, there are 6 levies that Canyons District and all districts have are accountable for. One is the basic rate. That is actually set by the state. So we don't set that rate, the state sets that rate based on a formula they determine. And everybody in the state pays that same rate, whether you're in Logan or St. George or anywhere in between. They do intend to raise that rate just a little bit this upcoming year. You can see where it was last year to 4.29 this year. Next one down is a voted rate. That is what the citizens of the district vote on as a maximum rate that they will pay. And in 2003, the then Jordan School District held an election and they voted to set that levy at 16 or 0016. That's maximum has stayed there since then. We have not done an election. You can only elect up to 20, so there's really no use to going up just a few more points. But That's the maximum the board can go with that. The board actually sets the actual levy, which is less than that, but that's the maximum. Then you have the board levy, and that is 0.25, but that is what you, as the board, control as well. And the capital levy, which can go to capital funds. So 2, 3, and 4 are what they call the certified rate. So we talk about that a lot as the certified rate, because that are the 3 rates that you as the board control. There's also the debt levy rate. You know, if we pass a bond, the voters have a chance to vote on a project and a possible tax increase and how that will look. And so that's, you know, that's what's happened twice here. And then they also agree to pay, you know, the debt service sufficient to pay those bond payments each year. The last one is what they call the charter school levy. That is based on the number of students who reside in our boundaries or a district boundaries who attend charter schools. It's all formula driven. It's not a huge amount, but it is, you know, does come under the school district's line there. So those are the 6 rates. Again, anytime the big or the 3 are the certified rates, that's the voted board and capital. If you're ever increased the revenue from one year to the next of those 3 rates, you have to have a truth in taxation hearing. Okay, so that's why it's always, you know, you do have to raise those rates every few years to catch up with inflation, or you'll just never catch up because you can only bring in the same amount of revenue year after year, but your expenses always go up on that. So
Hey, Leon, real quick, just on the charter school levy, just for the public's knowledge,
Mhm.
that line appears on their property tax notice, correct?
correct, yeah.
I think that's important for people to know. They can actually see how many dollars are leaving Lake Canyon School District to charters in our boundaries.
Yeah, for their tax. There are lots of other state dollars that go, but property tax, they can't see that right on their statement, yes. So people will see 3 lines on their, citizens see 3 lines on their statement. 1 is the basic rate. 2 is the charter rate. And 3 is the numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 all combined into 1 rate. That comes under Canyon School District. So that's what they see when they get their property tax notices in July. I always like to look at rates, you know, and rates don't tell the whole story, but you know, because every district has different amounts of commercial property. Values of homes are different. The debt you've incurred can be different. So, you know, it's never an apples to apples comparison to districts, but rates is a comparison. You know, you do get a vision of what other districts are charging. So I've taken 9 districts, 10 counting us, along the Wasatch Front. Tooele, Weber, Nebo may not be exactly Wasatch Front, but northern Utah at least. And I've gone and looked at what their certified rate is for this year versus Canyons. And so we're the base. So out of these 9, 10 school districts, we're the lowest. So Granite, you know, certified rate is 40% higher than ours. Jordan's is 27. And Provo's is almost 50. I think Dan lives in Provo. He needs to let the superintendent down there know how he feels. You can see where we're at with Davis, Weber. We're almost equal with Weber and Tooele. But that's just the certified rate. So we're the lowest there. Now, if you throw in the debt, now everybody has done different bonds and different elections over time. You can see where that stacks up, and then the total rate would be the same. I didn't include the basic because that's going to won't in fact impact it because that's the same for everyone. But you can see you throw in the total debt, you know, we're still about 14% lower than Granite. We're almost basically right even with Jordan. A little bit higher than Alpine, a little bit higher than Weber, but still, you know, quite a bit lower than Provo, Nebo, Davis, Ogden, Tooele, their total rate as well. So you can see where our rate has, you know, we really have, our rates just gone down over time as our value goes up, and we haven't gone above the certified rate in the last 5 years. So I always like to look at that because I think that's a pretty interesting stat for us to consider. So with that, that's all I have is just those slides. Is there any questions or comments?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Board, are there any questions? Yeah, Mr. Edel.
So this isn't so much to you specifically, but I did want to make the comment on our staffing for our elementary schools. And just to throw out there, it's been brought up. I think it was brought up here in the meeting, but I've also had a number of conversations of as we count our numbers to allocate staffing for our elementary schools, I think it's important that we consider looking at including a special education population along with our general education population. And so ultimately they're kind of double counted, but the reason for that is because we do have them merge into the rooms, and that's a really big impact. So especially when you're looking at a class that's maybe a high class already of 28 students, and you're going to merge in 4 to 6 students, then what you're looking at now is a class of potentially 34 students. And the only way around that would be for the school to fund their own FTE. And so, I mean, that's a discussion for us as a board. But I just wanted to throw that out there as a real problem that we currently have. And I think it's so important too that we continue to have our SPED students with our gen ed students. It's so positive for them. It's so positive for our gen ed students. But it becomes really difficult when there's just no room for them. So.
Okay, thank you. Are there other comments? Mrs. T.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're taking a look at this student FTE ratio. And, you know, this idea of the high schools, I think it's a great idea because, and I just wanted to mention it also aligns with our strategic plan about allocating resources to kind of address needs. And so I am in favor of this approach that you're looking at. But I just kind of wanted to say, so the way I understand it, what you're saying, it would essentially be cost neutral.
Yeah, we're trying to move staff, teachers more to Jordan, Hillcrest, less at the other 3 schools. Yeah.
Right.
But keep it.
So not necessarily increasing the FTE cushion or anything like that. And then I just had a question on community education. I know this is something that quite a few years ago, we had quite a bit of discussion about. And one of the benefits you said in here is administration time could be put to other programs. I'm just kind of curious, do you have any idea of what the FTE equivalent would be?
It's only maybe one.
One? Okay.
We have
Thank
a
you.
couple people who we split their time. There are about 3 people who we split. So it's maybe 1.5 who works some in the community ed and in other programs. Yeah.
Right. So what you're saying is those job positions could then use that time in another way to help support the district.
Absolutely. Exactly. So,
Okay, any other comments, board? Okay, I do want to bring up something kind of similar to what Nancy was saying. So I remember several years ago, no one else was on the board, but we had a big uproar over this community education piece. And people really didn't want to get rid of it. So, I mean, I do think it's smart, but maybe we just like reduce it, right? Like reduce it or do more targeted, like what you said. I have no idea. Like, it seems like it's kind of dwindling, right? It seems like so maybe it's okay. I don't know.
it just seems it's kind of a technology thing. A lot of people go to YouTube to learn how to do things.
Oh, that's a good point.
And
Yeah, you're right. And plus you can just Google anything.
Google anything. I replaced being a CPA, not handy, but I had to replace my garbage disposal over the weekend. Took me 2 times to put it in because I did it wrong, but both times I had to Google and watch the video how to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, that is really true. I didn't.
So if you need help, I can do it because I had to do it twice because I didn't do it right the first time.
And then my
But of
other.
the kitchen floor. Mary wasn't happy. Yeah, don't, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I also kind of wanted to comment on that staffing slide too. I mean, I do agree with what's happening, but just in general, like kind of a philosophy question is, I mean, I don't really want to increase classes because I just feel like we need to, I feel like we need to add more supports to teachers, not be adding more students to teachers, just kind of in general. But there again, that's part of a bigger conversation, but anyway. I mean, I think I'm fine with that because you're kind of getting more targeted, which
Yeah,
I
we
think
tried
overall
that.
is good.
It's, our schools are just so, even we have 5 high schools, they're just so different, each one. They really have it their own. We all know that they have their own personality. Some will have more online, some will send more to C-Tech. Some have more doing the seminary programs. And so it's just different at each one. And so we really want the targeted, we really feel like that's the most pressing need is our targeted, ELL students at, Hillcrest and Jordan, yeah.
Okay.
Just
Thank
to
you.
comment to that too, Amber, there's
Superintendent.
always room for more FTE to lower class size, right? I mean, so if the board, if we're, who knows what the economic environment might be like in a few years. I think this is, kind of assuming, and there's a presumption there that all things are going to stay the way they are, right? High inflation, issue with labor. I mean, all the difficulties we're dealing with. And so just thinking about how do we, similar to what we talked about earlier with APs and being more targeted in how those people are assigned and what they're assigned to. But, in the future, if we're in a better position to generate revenue, there may be more students in the district. I mean, to your point, I think ideal would be to keep class sizes down in all of our schools. That's ideal, but, funds aren't finite and we gotta.
We don't intend to raise, this is raising class sizes at 3 schools. We certainly don't intend to do that at our middle schools and our elementaries. I think Rick and I have always been, that's where the rubber hits the road for us is class size, and we're never gonna go there. It's just, our kids are just too important to do that.
Okay,
If
thank
we
you.
came up with maybe a little bit more detailed plan on community ed, would that be? Can we present that? We might have something more in April or May, if that would be amenable.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah. Mrs. Nybar, but thank you, Superintendent, for that clarification.
I'm in favor in phasing out the community ed. I don't see as much of a relevance in today's world for it, but happy to hear more information as well. I can see why maybe it was a bigger deal years ago, like President Schill was saying. As far as the current staffing ratio, I think in whatever direction we can head for more personalized learning approach, I would love to see a little more detail on that, just because it's hard for me to think of one teacher moving from a high school that has on an AB schedule, seeing so many students, how it's only going to raise the class ratio by 1 student. Does that make sense? That's an average.
That's an average. So basically, each one of these, take corner, for example, has roughly 85 teachers assigned to it based on the 23 and their enrollment, right? When
Yeah.
have we not said no?
Yeah, you gotta come up here though.
No.
Have you changed to garbage disposal? If not, you can't. Sorry.
So one of the other factors that led to this conversation was that Alta and Brighton and Corner Canyon use their land trust and TSSP monies to fund a lot of things like reduction of class size and additional programs. And Hillcrest and Jordan don't have any of those funds left to do those things with because they're using them all for these remedial programs. So in the grand scheme of things, it should have little to no impact on class size because the schools that are having a very small impact close to $1 million to help supplement those courses and keep those class sizes where they are, where the schools with a lot higher number of highly impacted students are using all those money for those highly impacted students. So the net impact should be very minimal.
That's awesome. Thanks. That's the type of detail that's good to have.
Yes,
I
thank you,
could say
Tom.
1 to 2 teachers at these schools would go to Jordan and Hillcrest, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edel.
And I would be interested, I don't know if anyone else would be, to know, what would be the FTE need, to add for the remedial courses, or the remedial FTE without taking away from the other schools, but also to ensure that, at Jordan and Hillcrest, whatever they're using for their current, TSSP funds for that to kind of level the playing field and target the specific needs. I would be curious to know what would be the impact and of that. Does that make sense? It's late now, so,
So I think you asked for what would be the cost of the FTE without moving the people. I mean, yeah, keep the people at those other schools, but then adding them
Ye-
to Hillcrest and Jordan.
yes, with a slight add-on of freeing up, because it was mentioned already that, like Corner Canyon's able to use, some of their TSSP money to reduce class sizes, whereas say Jordan or Hillcrest are using it for the remedial classes. And so, in addition to without transferring FTE from, Alta Brighton or Corner Canyon, but also to relieve Jordan of spending their own money for the remedial classes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we could come up with, I think, a number would probably, we need to go check, but I think it'd be 6 to 8. Around that
Yeah,
area.
I don't need it at this
Really?
moment,
Wow.
even
Okay.
though I'm pretty impressed that you just kind of came up with that.
I think that was, I
Six
think it'd be in
Well,
that
it's 100,000 a
to eight.
person, right?
FTE.
FTE,
The 8 FTE.
FTEs, yeah. But we'd want to check that out, just to be safe on the number of courses.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we will end that. Thank you, Mr. Wilcox, for that presentation. And now we'll go on to staff comments, and we'll start with the superintendent and then go to the business administrator.
Just shout out to our Canyons District Symphony. They high school kids, they played at Corner Canyon last night. And these are some of our elite musicians. 79 high school kids from across all of our high schools performed. All of our high school directors led a different piece. It was excellent, very well done. And then just awesome day over at Hillcrest today with Unified Sports again. And just as I've said before, the great power in being part of something bigger than yourself, like putting on a jersey and experiencing that kind of energy and support from their classmates. Just so proud of our students and, to see the smiles on those kids' faces and their energy. Pretty special moment. And First Lady Abby Cox, and we had first ladies from other states, Oregon, Alaska, Oklahoma, and one other. I miss somebody. Is that it? 4. So pretty impressive, but great to see that program just continue to grow and give more kids more opportunities to participate. So thanks to our SPED team and staff and everybody at Hillcrest for pulling that together.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Wilcox?
Just a big welcome to Chris. So excited to have you as a part of our team. So welcome. Great to have you. See all your family here earlier today. So welcome. We are so excited to have you. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. So we will start with Mrs. Pedersen tonight.
Okay. I too was able to participate, where we'll get to experience, I won't say participate, in the Canyon Symphony Orchestra, and they were phenomenal. That sounded so good. So I'm glad I had that opportunity. It was very impressive and the students were nominated to be on this, in this symphony. So I was very impressed with the quality. I also, a week ago, was able to go to Eastmont's PTA sponsored stargazing night. And I was a little concerned because it'd been kind of cloudy all day, but if you hung out a little longer, they had a food truck, so that was good. You went and ate, and then if you waited around a little bit, the clouds started to clear out and we were able to see, I saw Jupiter and 4 moons. It was so cool. They had telescopes all set around and activities for kids to do. And it was a marvelous activity. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue that as a tradition in the community and that more people come. We had a lot of high schoolers come over and it was really fun to have them over there at Eastmont as well. And then I was able to work with the student council at Altaview when they were doing their penny wars. That was really, really fun. One of the students came in literally with a tackle box filled to the brim with pennies and having the kids take it by handfuls and shovel it into the containers that we were counting the pennies from. And I understand that during that week that there were no pennies available at any banks. They had hit them all. They came in with rolls but the way they counted them, we had to undo the rolls. So I'm going, oh, we have to undo them. So they'll have to do them back up again. But anyway, we undid the rolls and it was so much fun to work with the student council and then also just to see how excited the kids were. If you brought a silver coin and put it in another house's bucket, you subtracted points from that team. So if I was Hufflepuff and I put it in Gryffindor's, I could ding them. So it was really fun to watch them do strategies, the older kids. Little kids are penny, we had to, kind of help them understand, and we couldn't let them hit anybody because they didn't understand how that goes. But I've just been able to experience some really, really exciting and fun things. And then, of course, today's unified sports, it is exciting to see the kids. And if you go often enough, you get to know their personalities and they're just hilarious and they're so proud. So I'm glad that I've been able to be out and about and experience the wonderful things that our students are doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Teeny.
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to welcome Chris. So I'm looking forward to working a lot and sitting with you in this great effort. Elementary school House Rock, the 3rd grade every year does that. And it's just really great. And I appreciate being invited to that. I was also able to go to the stargazing activity, which was really fun. We had an arts consortium extra meeting and just kind of to report to the board that we had some conversation about some ways that we can help support the BTS teachers in schools to be as effective and as efficient as they possibly can in promoting the integration of the arts into the classrooms. So I think it was great, and I think there'll be some good things coming out of that conversation. And then, the unified sports, I was able to go to the activity today at Hillcrest, and I mentioned to one person who this was their first time attending a unified sports event. I just mentioned, if you ever need to just have pure happy time, it's one of these events. Everyone is working together, everyone is having a good time, and everyone is celebrating. They're celebrating effort and they're celebrating achievement. And I think along with, the ideals of increasing belonging and creating relationships, it's just providing opportunities for students to be celebrated and to achieve. When one of those young people, sometimes they get it first try, and sometimes it takes several different shots at the basket before it goes in. But when it goes in, and they know it, and they love it, and everyone cheers and celebrates it, and they know they've done something really worth celebrating. And I think that is something that all of us can use a little more of in our life is that cheering for each other and helping recognize when great things and great effort is made. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Millerberg.
Thank you all. I appreciate all your support and for your confidence that I can step into this role. I did not have the opportunity to go to the event today at Hillcrest with Unified Sports, but that has been a passion of my husband's, and I've probably attended multiple events prior to this one. Probably at the very beginning of it. And it's such a joy. I can't add enough how that was such a program that we were just really excited to see get kicked off before it was ever embraced as a Canyons district. I have a daughter-in-law that serves with Abby Cox in the governor's office, and that was part of how we got involved in it prior to ever bringing it into Canyons. So the most I participated with that today is we watched the video of the initiation, as I mentioned, of the program when they were interviewing people and sort of launching it. And my 2-year-old grandson, who I've had responsibility for the last week or so, watched all the kids playing and then my husband doing some commentary on what was going on, and he kept yelling, "I want to go play soccer with Grandpa today." So we tried to get there, but yeah, then our new grandbaby just arrived at about the same time, so we didn't make it. But thank you all for all of your effort to follow the process to make this happen for our family. I would be remiss if I did not report that I thoroughly enjoyed attending all of the James plays performances at Hillcrest High School. The highlight of that was attending James 3, which was done in the Little Theater. Literally, the performance level that goes on at that high school is beyond compare. Years ago, we had attended a performance of Aida at Hillcrest, and then we got on a plane that night and flew to London. And I had a son that was living there at the time, and he had purchased tickets for us to go to Wicked there. And I can say from a firsthand that Hillcrest's performance was every bit as equal to Wicked on the main stage in London. So if you aren't participating in that, it's just a cultural event that you just can't deny the quality of how it reaches these kids and reaches the community and embracing and creating a real valuable asset to their life and the ways that they acquire skills that make them effective in whatever discipline they decide to go into. The very highlight of it was sitting next to a young woman's parents. They happened to be the people that were sitting right next to us, and she was the star of James 2, had the leading role of the Queen. And these were parents that had just come to the United States when this girl was 2 years old, they said. They had finally qualified for a home and had moved as a consequence in her senior year to Lake Point, which is clear out in Tooele. And this girl is commuting every day so she can participate in the Hillcrest program. She's received a lot of scholarships and many opportunities, but they could not speak highly enough of the staff in all disciplines. She was part of the IB program, but it was just such a joy to see somebody who had come here early on in her schooling and had been in our programs from the beginning, and how it had developed her as a real, genuine, amazing human being. So I thank you all for the opportunity to step into this place and serve with you in a professional setting. And I appreciate the opportunities that I've had prior to this. I'm looking forward to what is on the horizon for me in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edel.
So first, I want to say that I think Scott has set a new bar for school reports, except maybe he took the bar, put it on an airplane, and then was flying around somewhere. That was really fun to hear from the students, especially from Altaview. So, and good on them, because that's not easy for people to come up and stand there and talk to us. And but that was awesome. And so hopefully we can hear from some more students at some point in the future. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I also am working to schedule my first town hall meeting, and in my inquiries accidentally kicked up a hornet's nest as I was trying to ask some questions on how to get the word out. And it was recommended that I bring it to us to start discussing, if we want to, potential options on how we advertise for our town hall meetings. So we've got Peach Jar as a method to advertise. And the one that I thought was pretty simple, but I guess wasn't, was a recommendation that the town hall get sent to the schools so that they could put it in their little one line for their upcoming events, which apparently is a really big deal that would require board discussion. And so it was recommended that I bring it up now to see if that's a thing that we want to talk about, or what.
So, yeah, so I asked Andrew to bring that forward. So board, should we bring this back to, I mean, we kind of need to understand, I mean, like Andrew said, it's a little complicated. If we open it up to that, and then do we have to open it up to other, but it's more than that. So I don't know if we want to put that on the agenda for our next meeting. Are you guys okay with that?
So I guess I'm not quite understanding the question. Just, you want to talk about how we currently, and then how we possibly could
Yes.
do it differently.
Yes.
Okay.
That's basically it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine if we have it as a future agenda item.
Okay. Well, I'll try to do it on the 9th. I think as soon as possible is better. That's our next meeting. So.
And,
okay.
and we can do it whenever. We're not going to hit the deadline for my town hall meeting, so I'm not in a super huge rush.
Okay. So just at some point in the next couple months.
Yeah, not super far away, because then it'll get lost, and we won't have anything. But
well, it might be also something for the handbook, right? I don't know. I don't know if we have anything in policy. We
Right.
don't practice right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now in the handbook on town halls, we just kind of have put in what is the current practice, but if we want to make a change, then I think we should discuss it as a board.
Yeah, Mrs. Nybar.
I'm in favor of discussing it as well. I don't know if it's to the importance of forcing it on the next agenda, because there's other items I would love to have on the agenda as well. But I think in the next month or two is a great idea. And I think as our district spends resources with town halls, usually we have a district representative there. And that it's important that we get some advertising out to try to make it as successful and reach as many people as possible so they feel listened to.
I've never had a representative there, so I don't know.
Oh, I have every time, almost every time.
Okay, so that's, maybe something we gotta talk about.
Yeah. And I usually have takeaway stuff too for parents to take home. Does everyone else do that? Okay, sounds like we'll have a good
I do
discussion.
nothing yet, but I'm about to. So for anyone watching that's from my district, April 16th at 6 p.m. at Mount Jordan is going to be my very first town hall meeting. So I hope to see you all there. You can come and ask me whatever questions you want, or you can just have me talk about current events. But the big reason I want to have this conversation is because I want to do whatever we can to have those open lines of communication and transparency between us and all of our stakeholders, who I think are really important, And so I think that this is a really great avenue to help increase that communication and transparency, and to really be the shining example that we are of working together. And then for my last thing, since that wasn't really mine, so it doesn't count against my time, I do want to speak to our military leave policy. I'm really excited about that. It's we believe a first of its kind for school districts in Utah, to help support our employees who are current members of the armed forces, and to help provide some stability in their lives as they work to defend our nation, and especially today as we have some pretty big threats out there against us. So anyway, I'm really excited, and so thanks to all the people who put in efforts to that to bring it about.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Nybar.
First, I'd like to officially welcome Chris Millerberg as our board member. It does my heart really good to see a Millerberg down there. Okay, well, I was a few weeks ago, I was looking at a project, and we had two options, and it was the more conservative approach or to do it all. And the individual said, if you say make it rain, I will, which approach are you going to do? I'm going to come back to that. We had an amazing op-ed that went out today by some of our board members, talking about how public education is in jeopardy. A fantastic op-ed piece. And I think that as we look at that and we see what's happening with legislation, we should feel uncomfortable, right? There's a 80s rock band that had some song, Purple Rain, I guess. And when you look it up online, I was a little young. Was that the name of their song, or was that the band? Prince. Okay, there was a movie and there was a song. I was a little young to be listening at that point, but I read about it, and no problem. I'll age you whenever you want. Anyway, so the Urban Dictionary describes purple rain as a restless feeling, a nondescript feeling of boredom, restlessness, and confinement. And sometimes I see that look in the eyes of my senior as he's finishing out his last few months of school. And I've been recently talking to a group of parents concerned about what we're doing for our special ed kids as far as curriculum goes for math and reading. I spoke to this amazing individual named Helen Denzing, whose daughter is over at Granite Elementary, and she goes in and volunteers in this classroom, and she's developed this curriculum. The hardest part with an atypical learner is that letters and numbers just seem so abstract. It's like they're staring at ancient Egyptian drawings, and there's no connection, right? And what she first does is she writes a personal story about them with them. And then she has them cut the words and glue the words together, and she does all this tactile things. The amazing thing is her teacher there in that classroom, there's kids that haven't been able to recognize letters, letter sequencing, or beginning stages of reading. And she goes in and volunteers her time, and now there's several of them that are reading. Our district needs to look at that. We need to look at what we can do to provide a more personalized learning approach. Also, as we look at that personalized learning approach, we need to look at the needs of the individual. There's some individuals that are atypical, and they may never learn to read or write, but the gift that we can give them is some acceptance socially amongst their peers and their siblings and their friends in their community, so that they'll be able to function at a better level socially. So I think that we should be restless in thinking about what can we do to provide the most high quality personalized learning approach to our students, and to help our parents and families want to stay in public school. And the greatest gift we can give to those families is to maintain our sure foothold at the center of the community. That they are able to find the needs their students have in their community school, going to school with their neighbors and their friends. And as we look at programs and we look at budget and we look at all of these things, I feel this restlessness about making sure and ensuring that we have programs that every child can be challenged. Something Mont used to say, that every child can be challenged and be able to grow as a learner where they're at. And then it doesn't require that parents have to have them bused or driven farther away. And it's something I've been really passionate about since I first moved to Utah. When I was looking for what my kids' needs were and recognized that an advanced learning program wasn't offered at the neighborhood school. We flew out a few months before we moved to Utah so they could take the SALTA testing. I had my oldest two in that SALTA program and had some challenges with friend situations and feeling a part of the community because the neighborhood kids were different than their kids they went to school with. So I think we have an opportunity here to look and see, what we can do to provide high quality personalized learning for our kids and to try to meet those needs as best we can in the community center, our public school, the neighborhood building, so that the parents don't feel like they need to look someplace else, especially as there's all these incentives with voucher bills to go other places. And so I'd love to invite all of you to really consider that and be purposeful as we go to our committees about how we can do that and to make sure the steps we're taking are going to help us in that effort. Lastly, I've had some conversations with some board members, but after we had made after the board had voted and decided upon the money we were allocating to separate schools, I've been in some meetings over at Corner Canyon, and we had a lot of consulting with the athletic director and the administrators, and we're made aware of some needs that I wasn't actually aware of. And, we've looked at a few different things, and I would really request and hope that the full board would be interested in putting it on the agenda so that the community and the building administrators and the athletic director know that this was studied out by the full board. One of the options we're looking at for the field house is a phase 1, phase 2. So the plan is to build it so that we have the ability to add on later. And that community, if we did that, would be under the impression that we are committed to doing that later, which is future spending. And so I think it's really important that the full board looks at this. So I would ask you that we can put that on the agenda so that everyone's aware of the decisions we're making over there. I feel like that's something the full board should be looking at. And I think that that's part of our jurisdiction as board members to listen to the needs and in good faith, study it out. So, and that's all I have for tonight. In closing, let's all go listen to Purple Rain. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to start by talking about a couple events. I still have 10 minutes, so no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go that long. Start by thanking the police officers. I do remember Cheryl would always thank the police officers every meeting. And like every time I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't thank them. So I want to start by thanking them for being here. And we really do appreciate them being here. Every meeting we have them here. And so I don't know if they don't hear me, can someone mention that? Can someone pass that on to them? Okay. We do appreciate that a lot. Also, I was able to attend the Butler Elementary listening tour, the Butler PTA meeting. Also Canyon View PTA meeting and Brighton SCC. So I think I haven't said those before. They've been in the last few weeks. I'm trying to fit everyone in. So anyway, it was great to be there and just see what our schools are amazing, what they're doing. I mean, and I love to see just all the parents so involved too. I want to thank Linda Hall and Nate for the Unified Sports. I'm on that committee and I'm just really happy to see those kids. And it was so fun today. There's some that had just a lot of personality, doing some dance moves, and they're just so happy to be out there. I don't think I've shared this before, but I'll just never forget. It was a year ago at the Unified Sports soccer tournament in Abbey Cox. They had a program, and one of the coaches was talking. And this is like one thing that just hit me really hard and made me really passionate about this. Was talking about a student athlete who played soccer and how the coach, he felt so bad because this boy had never scored the whole season. He had never scored a goal. And so he went up to talk to him and said, you know, I'm so sorry, like you never scored. And he's like, it's okay, coach. I played soccer. And that just hit me so hard because it's just being able to wear that jersey, like knowing that they're out there doing a sport and having fun and doing something they love. I mean, I love that story. It was very touching. So I'm just really happy that our Canyons Education Foundation, they're supporting this. And I think we do have it in middle schools. And so anyway, it's really awesome. I really appreciate the administration supporting that. I want to thank Nancy and Karen for all the work they put in for this op-ed that did get published today. So you guys need to go look at that. They put hours and hours into this. So, and it turned out excellent. So I just want to thank you guys. I'm really proud of you and excited about that. And then lastly, last but not least, want to welcome Chris. Like we are so happy to have her and just so happy that she would be willing to step up because it's a big thing. It's a lot of work. So it's going to keep her busy for sure. So I think that is all. And I will just call this meeting to a close. And I'm just saying it's still before 9. So we should all be really happy tonight. Thank you.